Okay, here's what we're dealing with. This is a Mustang we bought. The person that we've got it from had bought it for scrap and decided to kind of keep it, but they didn't have a key. As you can see, they pretty much destroyed the casting for the lock cylinder. We pulled the steering wheel and pulled the rest of the steering wheel off and got this casting out. You can see there's a little damage here on the lower collar, but our plan is I've got a steering column from a 78 Granada, and I'm going to try and use a couple parts from that to possibly repair this one. Here's our Granada column. It's a different color, it's a different kind of car, but I think it's basically the same, and I'm hoping to use a few of these parts. The main thing is this casting for the lock cylinder. This is the turn signal switch out of the Mustang. You can see when they were working on that lock, they really went overboard. You know, there was no reason for all that, but I guess some guys only know how to use a hammer. But you can see this Granada one has got the same basic construction. I've disassembled both columns at this point, and here's our broken piece from the Mustang, and here's the piece from our Granada column. These castings are almost identical. They have different part numbers, but they're very similar. You can see here the Granada has the detents for the column shifter, while the Mustang doesn't have that part installed, but there is a provision for it. The Mustang had a floor shifter. And here's a shot from the top side. You can see all the damage. And here's the other Granada part. Well, as you can see here, we got a big hole in this part. That's a little different than the one we've got off the other column, because the other column was a column shifter. I found the piece they broke out of it. We'll see if we can glue that back in with some JB weld. Well, here it is after I put the first batch of JB putty on there. That's actually the second. The first one I tried mixing with my knife blade, and that doesn't seem to work too well. I think you have to mix it with your fingers, the JB weld, to kind of get it warmed up so that it works. Never used that before like that, so build up the inside a little bit. I'm going to put a little more on here to fill in, and we're going to call that good. This is a driver, not a show car. Okay, this is after I put a couple coats of the JB weld putty on it and sanded it. I filed it off and then sanded it, and it's kind of hard to get a good shot of this, but you know, for a driver that's going to be just fine. We're going to put this back together, see what we can do about adjusting the ignition switch, and get it ready to start with the key finally. Well, here we are with it back together. We just got to put the lock cylinder in, put the steering wheel on. It's not perfect, but you know, At least we got rid of that big hole. We've been able to deal with this piece here. Putting the steering column back together, if you just start those nuts on those bolts, they fit up in a slot. The head of them on the other side does. If you start them a little bit, when you push it all together, you can real easy get it the bolts lined up in the slots. So that's what actually holds this collar to the steering column. Of course, then you just tighten them down. We're gonna put the bearing in here, and tried this lock with a screwdriver just to make sure everything felt right. Everything feels good. One of the things we're gonna have to deal with is this shifter with the interlock. I guess those guys that I bought this thing from smashed this up trying to get it so they could tow it out of wherever they bought it from. You know, there's no reason for them to do what they did. All they needed was a cordless drill and they could have drilled that out. But some people don't. I don't know.